Good morning again, Flat Belly fellow travelers and coffee chat friends. Just an update here again on a meeting we had a few days ago. Our topic for this meeting happened to be the power of purpose, especially in regards to inspiration and motivation. We had quite a number of people show up to that. I didn't get an actual count. There was probably about 18 or 19 people at the meeting. I don't think we had any more chairs left. So there must have been some interest in this. As usual, we went around throughout the meeting and just got ideas. And a few things of note that I jotted down here. Oftentimes people will see a good movie, read a good book, and so on. That could be helpful for us in our growth in life. And there was the movie Billy was suggested. I don't recall it, but somebody that made a difference in somebody's life. There was a book called Be Here Now, and there was another book called Dying to Be Me. Just want to make a note of those. And we did go off on many tangents, many rabbit trails, though we did tend to keep to the topic of bringing it back to the idea of purpose. What is purpose? How is it developed? How is it important to us? This sort of thing. And we related it often to an idea of why. Why is it we do something? Why is it we have certain desires and so on? It's a little deeper than just the surface very often, right? And of course, as usual in these little videos, I'll share with you what I shared there, and hopefully it will give some ideas, remembering that it's just coming from me. This isn't necessarily going to work for you in your definition and how you see things. It's how I see things. Rather than what I believe, it's what I see as the way purpose works for us, especially in regards to inspiration and motivation in this particular presentation. So here we go. If we honestly look back at our lives, our history, right, our experiences, we can see that there was a purpose in all of our actions, in all of what we wanted to do, our desires and so on in life. And even if we weren't aware of it consciously, subconsciously there was. So for example, if we wanted to lose weight, get in shape, make more money and so on, there was something behind that. In other words, if I don't have a bill on me right now, but if I wanted to make more money, wanted to have more money in my pocket, say, for myself and for the vast majority of people, there's a reason for that which goes beyond just the paper. Perhaps there's certain money collectors who want the paper just for the paper. But even then, there's probably more to it. They probably want to display it somewhere or have it somewhere because it gives them a sense of status perhaps in their money collecting club or what have you. But there's something more to it than just the actual paper. So that's what I mean by purpose is looking deep, is why? Why do we want these things? And in many cases, when we look deep enough, it has to do along the lines of acceptance, the feeling of security, safety, love, etc. for why we want to do things, why we want to take our actions. And like I said, these purposes can be conscious or subconscious. We act, not very often, but sometimes, quite often, consciously. But a lot of the times we go through life with subconscious programs, and we can dig into those and we can see sometimes. But these purposes essentially inspire us. In other words, they lift us up and move us to action through what I would call a vanguard of feelings. So it seems to come first. We feel like we should, whether we admit it or not. There's something within us. So this inspiration kind of evokes these feelings which move us to action. And they're associated with our attention. And because of them, we bring our attention to bear on whatever our actions are, whatever our desires are, right? And therefore, the creativity unfolds to present opportunities. So if we're moved in a certain direction, it seems like then we see the opportunities through which to act. And the more attention we give to this why, consciously or subconsciously, but are a mix of the two, the stronger this purpose seems to come. And with this greater strength brings greater clarity of the opportunities. And with all this greater clarity and greater conviction and stronger purpose and stronger feelings and so on, we therefore feel motivated to act upon the opportunities that we see along the lines of the purpose. And the more we continue to act, the more our results come in direct proportion to our involvement, and therefore the inrush of the feelings or the qualities that were sought. So, for example, if we wanted to have more money for the purpose of, consciously or subconsciously wanting to feel more secure, etc., and we feel inspired to, and therefore see opportunities, a new business opportunity or what have you, and then with our attention on this, we become motivated to act upon the business. The more we act upon it, the more this money comes to fruition, and therefore we feel that sense of quality that comes. However, the inrush of those feelings and qualities are usually short-lived. And the reason for this is because, as I see it, is we were driven to a goal, you might say. We were going towards it. And then we become conditioned in life to feel that somehow our quality is dependent upon that. And then when we achieve it, the game has changed, you see. Because now we just have it. We don't have the chase for it. And when that game has changed, so does everything else. And the feelings, therefore, begin to dwindle of that feeling of quality. And therefore, the human condition to chase another goal based on usually a similar purpose. We become enlightened to this at times, though, don't we? At certain times in our lives. We see this as a kind of a circle. Chase the goal, get a feeling, pixie dust settles. We go again, we go again. So we might say to ourselves, aha, I get it. This quality that I want, this feeling of happiness, this love, this sense of security, whatever, it doesn't come from the goal I'm getting. It seems to come from within. Therefore, I'll cut out the middleman called going to get the goal and just go for the quality. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? So we switch from pursuing stuff to, say, pursuing happiness only. We try this until we realize this is actually not even as effective a scheme as the one we had before. Because you see, when we were pursuing money or love through relationships or weight loss or what have you, these goals were kind of objective in a way. We could quantify them. However, when we pursue only the quality, our rationale breaks down because we can't really get a handle on the subjective, can we? To the point where we don't even believe our own rhetoric anymore because we don't feel it's any more effective. And we become almost like our own worst enemies, and we go back into the pursuing of things again. Except this time we usually do it with a more enlightened stamp. It might be eco-friendly things only, and so on. Some sort of a stamp of stewardship approval. But nevertheless, we go back to it. And this can happen over and over and over again. This circle continues. What to do then? If things don't equal qualities like happiness, and happiness as a quality cannot be pursued or doesn't seem to be found on its own, what do we do? Well, allow me to share with you Mabel's story very briefly. You see, Mabel, at one point in her life, was going about life just like you and I. She was trying to lose her belly, she was going to work, she was earning money, she was looking after her kids, she was taking care of all those things within her circle of life, right? Until one day she gets a phone call from somebody who tells her of a very dear friend who has been in an accident, injured, in the hospital, who needs Mabel's help now. What happens in Mabel's life is a shift. All of those other things that were important up until that moment, her financial goals, the purpose for those, her fitness goals, the purpose for those and all take a back seat. Actually, they go out the window. Because now she has something that's even more important. There's like a higher purpose for it. And I like to call this moving from ego 1.0 to capital ego 2.0. I just use the term just for kicks and to get a chuckle out of it, really. And what this ego 2.0 really is a connection with what I would say is this inseparable love bond with her friend. The inrush of the feeling when she got that call snapped her, seemed to snap her, or it evoked the snapping of, into this higher self, this ego 2.0, this call to love. And Mabel therefore happily puts this small ego of her own little life, 1.0, on hold to serve the purpose of love for a friend. And it brings her to tears. So it has a physical manifestation. So what does this have to do with purpose? Well, I would say that when we continue to move purpose to the service of love, or oneness, community, we will still be inspired. In fact, we will be more inspired to see opportunities in our lives, as Mabel has demonstrated. And the result of this higher sense of purpose and this stronger sense of inspiration is they were actually more motivated to act in the service of this purpose, this higher purpose. And the difference between this ego 2.0 and this small ego 1.0 is sort of like this. You see, Mabel is not going to her friends for personal ego gain. Yet she goes ahead anyways and puts all else on hold. You see, ego 2.0, unlike the smaller ego of our what we would normally consider ego, wants service of love first, service of connection, service of community, service of something what would be considered outside of our normal selves first. And from this higher ego sense, there is no other separate from us. Therefore, service of love is service of all. You see, the connection that Mabel felt when she got the call was almost a greater connection than that of herself. That's what I mean by this elevation. We've all experienced it with something that's happened with a loved one in our lives, probably. And that's why this is a good example of somebody being injured, a loved one. To me, this is the power of serving a purpose higher than just our normal, everyday ego purposes. Yes, it may appear counter to what we want and what we've been led to believe. But all we have to look is almost no further than, say, Isaac Newton's theories of motion, or Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, to see a underlying gospel which goes back many, many thousands of years of what we put out, we get back. And certainly, we can look at our own lives and the love that we've given to loved ones over the years and recognize these incidences as our best memories. They outstrip all that lower ego, gratifying tendency to accumulate, what that could have ever brought us. And the evidence is the pleasant memories of those moments. Surely, therefore, when when we think of our purpose in life, our experiences clearly demonstrate, through those memories of loved ones, for example, that a bigger picture purpose, in other words, a purpose outside of what we would normally think of ourselves, belongs in the realm of this higher self. What I call here this ego 2.0, capital E. And the result is, as we see through our memories, that we get to live a higher quality of life. And isn't this what we've been talking about over these years? Higher quality of life, whatever works for us. Now the interesting thing is, we don't have to strive for the higher quality of life. If we live from the heart a little bit more, that seems to be the result. We move into this higher sense, this higher ego, you might call it, sense of self. Thank you for listening. Please leave your comments and feedback. I look forward to talking to you in a few weeks. Bye-bye for now.